Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast, brought to you by MANSCAPED, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. My name is Joe Kuzma, and the man pointing to his crotchal region, I don't even know who this is. You haven't been around for a minute, but for those who remember him from eons ago, Mr. Brian E. Roach. And Brian, man, I mean, we're happy here to have the Manscaped folks as one of our new sponsors for the show. So as you see, got bush, got to trim the bush with Manscaped. So folks, if you're,
I'm just telling you, that's got a different meaning for some of the people listening to this. Right
I do think so. But hang around for that, folks. There's already probably outtakes from this, which is a lot of fun that we're having with Manscaped. But you head on over to manscaped.com, get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code Steel City, and we'll have a little more to talk about later on with this. We got all kind of swag and product and things to talk about. And my stuff, I actually just got the care package itself yesterday in the mail, so I've only had hands on a little bit. Brian, you're gonna have too much fun with me saying this stuff. It's like an episode of Beavis and Butthead. But speaking of
hands on,
no. Speaking of Butthead, I don't know. No, I don't know. I was going somewhere that I probably shouldn't with this. But how you been, man? It's been a minute since there's been things in development since you've last been on the program.
I am very excellent. I'm enjoying. Let me just say, the Manscaped boxer briefs are some of the most comfortable and wearable boxer briefs that I've ever had. I enjoy them quite a lot. Now, that being said, Mr. Kuzma, I know that the question on the tip of everyone's tongue right now is, do you manscape your family jewels?
Oh, see, now you had to go straight to the jewel box, but as we were kind of intimating offline and in between, not giggling and laughing like little boys here, a little too much information. I mean, maybe, we'll just put it this way, Brian. It's not like a baby bird in the bird's nest, So, and over here you go all Crocodile Dundee with the.
This is what I use
machete over there.
Before Manscaped, this is what I had to use to trim the follically challenged family jewels. Was this thing? But no, they provided this lovely weed whacker tool. It's very nice, and now I don't accidentally cut myself.
Yeah. Some of you's got the stuff a little sooner than I did, so you know what? We'll get to that a little bit later on, but we've got some other developments to talk to. But we are excited that thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring our show throughout
Absolutely.
Part of the month of October here and on through the football season. So look forward to some more adventures with them. And I'm not going to burn through every single thing so far, but yeah, comfy t-shirt. I don't know. I feel a little awkward wearing it around, my 9-year-old daughter. So it's like, other than that, it's some funny stuff. It's some great marketing. So kudos to those folks. And
try wearing it to a business meeting on Zoom.
You know what? I'm very fortunate. I don't have to worry about those things. But hey, we got you. Like we can see the full set there. We got all the helmets and everything. You've been rearranging. This is some good stuff, man. It's about time. I miss you. You complete me. Did you know that? You complete me.
I was unaware of that, but okay.
This has been all thrown out the window. Of course, we're here on a later night on Wednesday, a little ahead of the curve here, just so we could finally get on the same page, especially for our 2%ers, because everyone else has already turned off the program. We're like, what the hell is going on with these guys? So, anyways, Brian, some things have transpired with Steelers Nation since we last talked. Yeah, we were pining for some Kenny Pickett. You got to see a little bit of Kenny Pickett. What do you think thus far of Kenny Pickett without going into 38-3 too in depth?
Well, I mean, look, I was at the Jets game, so I got to see that second half of football. I think it's fair to say that uh, he it's not too big for him right now. Whether they're trimming the playbook back, which I'm sure they are, whether they're to a certain extent trying to manage what he can and cannot do, I'm sure they are. But what is clear is that he provides a little bit more electricity. He's a little bit more aggressive. He's got a little bit more swagger. Well, he's got a hell of a lot more swagger than Mitch did.
That's saying it lightly.
It's easy to say after watching the last 6 quarters of football that the quarterback position is probably not the problem anymore.
Yeah, I'm totally there with you, man. Just kind of sucks because when you do try to point out what might be the problem, we have a laundry list across all three phases of football: offense, defense, and special teams. I'm not going to fault Boz too much necessarily for missing the field goals in Buffalo. It seems like the weather was a factor in things,
Yeah.
but man, I'll tell you what, the muff punt so far this season, and they've had block kicks. We should be praising like Danny Smith, but then at the same time, you're like, what the heck is going on? I understand James Pierre probably wasn't really up to speed to be doing. I don't even recall James Pierre in camp fielding these things. They had George Pickens back there, they had Cam Sutton back there, they had Calvin Austin, who we're still waiting to see if he's going to be activated. I mean, they've got the 21-day window, so it's got to be either this game against Tampa or the following week when they go on the road to Miami. Welcome to I'll do that later. We got too much music. I was hoping. We got Kenny and the Jets, though, so that was pretty cool. Hit the nail on the head. I think we were all talking about that. Even Flash pulled up this old clip of him, like maybe having a little bit too much of a good time on draft night and calling his shot about when he might come in. I remember back then I was like, really? You think that early? And it's like, Jets, maybe the mini buy. And we were starting to think more toward that. But it's funny. I was reading, went to the library. I had to go get a book for the kids project. We go to the library frequently though, but Sports Illustrated isn't something that I put my hands on in a really long time. And I was just looking at like just the synopsis of where they thought the Steelers season might be. And they were calling for Pickett to come in mid-season after the bye, something like that. But pretty much everybody was feeling it. Vegas was giving odds for it. So it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. And when you see what the offense is doing or not doing, like we talked about special teams just real briefly, but geez, is that a disaster too that needs to get cleaned up? Get somebody that can like field a return, field a punt return or a kick return, please. And then hopefully you get a punter that can kick it more than 30 yards. And maybe they'll be in gear too, because that didn't set up anyone for any sort of success last Sunday. Just everything was a colossal failure, and everybody's like trashing Mike Tomlin and stuff. But overall, like coming out of that game, I was just kind of shocked that everybody was like, fire Matt Canada out of that Bills game. And I'm just looking at it and I'm like, okay, are we really using Mitch Trubisky as like a barometer of whether or not this offense works with multiple quarterbacks? Like, you can't really take last year's team and put this into the same kind of context either, because there's some different players. Offensive line's a little different, maybe more of a mobile quarterback. But I mean, I think about it in like terms of like firepower. You know what I mean? You're looking at the arsenal of weapons you could have. Pulp Fiction. Bruce Willis is in the pawn shop and he's looking around at every weapon. And first he picks up Mitch Trubisky and then he puts him down because it's just not going to get the job done. You know what I mean? You reach for Kenny Pickett here. And that's the way I feel. So I'm not ready to throw, Matt Canada on here. I look at the 38 points with the defense and I'm just like, were we watching the same game necessarily? I know there was faults and some problems here, but this kind of leads into whether or not they have an opportunity to compete with Tampa Bay this weekend too, just kind of looking at this in hindsight.
Look, here's the thing. I get it. Everybody wants a scapegoat. Everybody wants, to be the armchair offensive coordinator, so to speak. And when you go back and look at tape, it's not just play calling that's a problem. The receivers are not running routes very well. There's just mistakes throughout the offense, and they're not hard to see if you go back and review. I mean, as much as I love Chase early on, let me just tell you, he's not. He is absolutely regressing on a consistent basis. He is not improving. Deontay is a tremendous route runner, and I have said for every year that he's been there, he gives up on routes too soon, and he still does. What I'm encouraged by is I think you have a stud in George Pickens. I think you have a potential franchise quarterback in Kenny Pickett. So you have two pieces to this puzzle right now that are bigger than what you thought you might have had. I think Freiermuth, if he can stop getting concussed, is a solid quality, potentially under the level, kind of maybe Pro Bowl-ish tight end. Could go to Pro Bowls if the top ends have off years, right? I think he's got the capabilities. He's a good, solid tight end. I don't know. I've got questions about Najee right now. But I don't know how much of that is how hurt he is. I don't know how much of that is still the offensive line not playing up to par. I'm much more in love with James Daniels right now than I was before, and I liked him before. So, you've got a solid piece in James Daniels, but the rest of it is questions for me. When you take all of that and stack it up, is it really Matt Canada's fault? I don't know that you can say that. I'm not giving Matt Canada a pass, nor am I saying he's the offensive genius of the world. I'm just saying I can't make that judgment right now because there are too many people playing like crap. And that's not on Matt Canada.
I'm totally with you. I looked at that Buffalo game, and I'm trying to stick with offense versus, Steelers offense versus Tampa's defense to kind of start here. And that's kind of the stepping off point is, and this isn't to trash Trubisky and everybody saying that I'm a hater or whatever. It just seems like the offense hums at a different pace when Kenny Pickett's in there. A lot of people are going to say, well, Joe, they played like prevent defense and people were off. They were still sending guys, and Von Miller was still trying to get home and stuff like that. I mean, they're on the broadcast, they're calling him the closer. You know what I mean? And I still think the Steelers offense has done well in pass protection. And it's hard to tell, like you said, how much of this is Najee Harris being banged up. Guy's team captain. We saw what he was able to do and create positive yards, even with last year's offensive line was bad. And I mean, we're talking about Kendrick Green in there and Trey Turner. And then at times, whoever the left guard was, you know what I mean? And then Dan Moore is a rookie. And I think Dan Moore, if they could just stop getting penalized, and what year have we not gone through the month of September and said, geez, can the offensive line stop shooting everybody in the foot, illegal man downfield, false start, not even that much holding. Holding's going to be here nor there. And we saw a little bit of, the thing with James Daniels when he went after whoever, the guy that was Kenny Pickett's teammate at Pitt that hit him late on the slide. And it's like, of course, the second guy in gets the penalty. It's the way it always tends to turn out. You know what I mean? So I
don't care about that penalty. I literally don't care.
No, I didn't either.
Take the penalty. That is the right move. If you're an offensive lineman and your rookie quarterback just got hammered, that's the right move. We gave the offensive line crap last year because Ben is picking himself up off the floor, and some of those guys aren't helping him up. They're not coming to his defense. That's the way the offensive line ought to act. And I saw somebody tweet this. If Pouncey was still here and Pouncey in his prime, somebody been dead.
Yeah, totally. I'm with you on that one. And yeah, I just don't know. There's too many people that are just put Jaylen Warren in there. And I don't know that it's necessarily the answer either. Some people are saying it's some scheme stuff, maybe too much outside runs, but we're seeing holes in the middle that maybe aren't being hit as quick, or it just seems like Najee's off a hiccup, you know what I mean? And he was hurt in camp, and that's all we're going to be talking about all year, particularly if he doesn't get any rest whatsoever. And it's going to be whether or not he's a bust, first round bust, this and that. I'm not ready to jump the shark on any of that. I think they're obviously a better team when he's out on the field, provided he's playing at 100%. And there was someone in the comments section, I wish I could attribute you, thank you, who are, I'm sorry, and I'm not going to look right now, it'll take me forever. There was 50, 60 comments on the last episode, but they said something like, if you're not 100% out there and you're playing hurt, then you're hurting your team. Well, that's both true and false, because it's a not for long league for a reason. And if you're not out there with the gladiator attitude that you're going to play, there's a lot of guys that are at risk of losing their job. I don't know that Najee Harris is one of those guys. Like I said, he's a team captain, but yet there's another team captain that is over on the bench now, and Mitch Trubisky, still partaking in coin tosses and things like that. So never say never. But then if they want to spell Warren, or Warren puts the ball on the ground, then who's up next? Probably Benny Snell, who's actually active on game days. And I don't know if that's where you want to go or not. I don't think he's going to have any much more success with the way things are going right now, but it'd be nice to be able to run the ball. And I think part of the problem with them not being able to run the ball to date has been the fact that teams have been able to load up the box and just dare, basically Trubisky in this case, for the most of these games have been played with Mitch, to beat them with the pass. And then, of course, when you get behind, how are you going to be able to judge a run game success or whatever when Kenny's thrown it, 52 times?
Here's the caveat to all this that I will, to a certain extent, place on Canada. What was it, second or third series the Steelers have the ball? Run, pass, 3 and out.
Yeah.
Like, I grant you, right? I can see fans being upset with what I would absolutely perceive as a lack of creativity in how the game is being called, right? No, I don't think all the play calls are failing because they're bad or they're mistimed or they're telegraphed. But there are times when it is so pedestrian that they're going to run, and then they're going to throw the ball. So it makes it simpler on the defense. Absolutely correct. That you can put at the feet of potentially Matt Canada, right? And it doesn't help your rookie quarterback either, right? Because you basically put him in high pressure situations where he has less chance of a chance to succeed. Give him some quick and easy throws on first down. Do not always run the ball when you first come out there. Especially just come to grips with the fact you stink at it right now.
Yeah.
Play to the strengths that are working. Don't play to stuff just because it happens to be the way you want it to go. They need to adjust, and you know how I feel about our boy Mike T. You know I love Mike Tomlin. You know I think he's a Hall of Fame coach. But there's some blame to be laid at Mr. Tomlin's feet for that last game, and there is some blame to be laid about being able to adjust on the fly with how you're going and what you're doing. So, do I think Mike Tomlin's on the hot seat? No, get out of here. Are you crazy? But, Mike has to take a little heat for how things are transpiring too. And maybe it's just all learning curve, right? Hell, they had a guy for 15 plus seasons. So they didn't have to think as hard about all of this. Now they got to figure out who the hell they are, which we've been saying since the get-go. And they couldn't, with Mitch in the backfield, you didn't know who you were, because clearly you're not a passing team, but you couldn't run the ball, so you're not a running team, right? Well, now you got a guy who can at least sling the ball, right? Who's going to be aggressive. Yeah, he's going to make a mistake. The pick that he threw, that was all Kenny. Right? It was the bad throw. It's probably the worst throw he threw the entire game. It was one bad throw. That's going to happen.
Yeah, maybe, because we've seen Deontay butterfinger it up too.
As I've said before, Deontay quits on routes. He just does. Especially if he doesn't necessarily think he's the target, he quits on routes. I've watched him do it too many times.
Yeah. And like you're saying, and I don't think, people are thinking maybe Canada is going to be on the hot seat or something like that. And
I believe he is on the hot seat. Don't get me wrong.
Well, for this season, I don't think they're going to fire him just like within the season, though. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see.
It's not really how they operate. And what are they going to do at that point? Make the guy who's the quarterback's coach, who nobody really knows what he's going to do. Is he going to become the offensive coordinator? Is Mike T going to start calling all the plays? I think it's more than likely you suffer with Matt Canada through the rest of this season and see if he can figure out how to find his stride with a quarterback that he recruited to Pitt, right? So he ought to have some familiarity with the kid, and see if they can figure it out. It's going to take a little while, obviously, but I don't see them dumping Matt Canada mid-season. I say that, and there is, if they come out and get their butts beaten, the tune of 38 to nil or something ugly again against Tampa, and then have to go to Miami, which may be an easier game than we thought it was going to be, because if Tua is not playing, it may be, but it may not, because they still have a hell of a receiving core.
Yeah.
But then have to go to Philadelphia, where they can never win to begin with, and they haven't won in 1,000 billion years, against a team that's currently the only undefeated team in football. Yeah, some changes will get made at that point.
Well, I brought this up, and I haven't been able to bring it up with you, but where did we have the Steelers at by the bye week originally when we did that? Do you remember that with the schedule?
Our worst case scenario was 1-7.
There you go. And
it wasn't the one that we got, though.
No. We thought that was going to be the Jets.
Beat the Jets.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm trying to see if I can. I'm seeing if I still have it, because I kept it in a spreadsheet. It was the Jets.
We thought they could be as good as 500 team, right? Like, we thought, okay, maybe they could figure out a way to be 4-4, 3-4, but we said it's not unrealistic to expect them to also come out of this 1-7.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think I pulled up last. I keep good notes, man. I'm organized. I pulled up last year's.
Oh, there you go. Hey,
and that's pretty interesting too.
We thought they'd win every game last year.
We always do every year. This is like the first year where we came in here and we were like, not so much, So it was like, yeah, we thought they would lose the first 3, beat the Jets, and then maybe have a chance to beat the Dolphins, but losses at the Bills this weekend, against the Bucs, a loss, and then also at the Eagles, because they just never won there. And I think we almost coin tossed it too, because we said they always play like crap in Florida when they play these teams down there all the time. Every single one of them, they struggle, and they're not like exclusive to that. This isn't like exclusive to Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. Bill Belichick just brought the Patriots down there, I think, for the week one. They started with both their games on the road, weeks 1 and 2, because they came to Pittsburgh. So Belichick went down there like 5 days early, and they still lost the game. He was trying to get them acclimated and everything else, and it still didn't work. But then we have them like not losing but one game in the second half of the season, because we also thought that's when the quarterback switch might happen. They'll have some time to install and do some different things. Now it's a little different. They got to get right health-wise, because everything we're talking about, like you said, Pat Fryermuth's not out there. That's a weapon for them. Big weapon. I mean, the guy's catch radius, you put it around him, he's coming down with it. And that's part of the problem we were seeing, is that, Mitch wasn't necessarily getting these guys the ball. He was finding Deontay for the most part. Deontay still had a little bit of case of some butterfingers here or there. I'm not necessarily going to say he's some drop artist, because you got to get the timing and stuff down. And he didn't necessarily, it was mostly the comeback route. That's his strongest, by far, his strongest suit. So Chase Claypool, like you said, kind of regressing, not going up, not using his size, this, that, and the other thing, but
dropping and just not catching stuff. I am to the point where maybe it's time to sit Chase down and let one of these other guys have a shot. Put Miles Boykin out there and let him try. Let somebody else give them the opportunity to shine, right? Give them the opportunity to take the position, because right now Chase is not doing that.
I was going to say, we kind of went away completely, or Canada did, from using him like a Deebo Samuel type all of a sudden. And that seemed to be a pretty good, strong suit for him. That seemed to work. The other thing, I'm glad you brought up Miles Boykin, because when I see Miles Boykin on the field, I'm thinking it's going to be a run. And it's almost like he's out there and it was like Gunner and somebody else. Like, you pull off like the top 3, which right now would be Deontay, Chase Claypool, and George Pickens, and you're putting something entirely else out there, and it kind of shows your hand. But I was going to say, going back to the Buffalo game, when we covered this, when that first drive they came out, it was Kenny throwing. And it wasn't until they grabbed a first down or two that then they ran the ball a little bit, and it was very mixed success. But the next series, or a series right after that, like, Najee went out there and banged out 6 yards, like on a first down. And then he got like maybe 1, and it was like third and manageable. But that's the setup and that they were always in that wasn't working. But it does look or feels a little different than last year, because it was almost always, and they're still kind of doing a little bit of this, but you do get a quarterback under center, where Ben was always in the shotgun. And then there was like no guesswork at all. Ben's like, let me empty everyone out. And it's like, well, when you're playing defense in the NFL, and I might be a broken record on this from a prior episode, but it's like you're standing there, and I'm going to steal this. It was somebody was mentioning this. Maybe it was Charlie Weiss. I listen to a lot of the morning shows on Sirius XM NFL radio, right? And I was like, man, that is just such the basics of football when you're playing defense. What do? You have to guess if it's a run or a pass. And you have to put personnel out there based on whatever the offense sends out. So when you send Miles Boykin and Derek Watt and Gunnar Olszewski out there, or you send out Derek Watt, Zach Gentry, Pat Freiermuth out there, you got to mix it up a little bit, maybe bootleg it, and it did that. They caught Watt, but they did it right at the beginning of the game. It's like, are you fooling somebody? Did you think somebody saw too much film? So I think some of that, there's creativity there, but it's not enough creativity. It's not enough just mixing up. And there's got to be the timing with the new quarterback and things like that. But with the full week of practice with Buffalo, and now a full week of practice coming in and based on whatever scraps are left after this Buffalo game, which we'll go through this injury report in a little bit. I don't know. I was hoping that the Steelers offense would be able to maybe at least get into a competitive shootout with the Bills. But I also think that the Bills are their offense is on a whole different level.
That's the best team in football right now.
Yes. So, but this was a Bills team that had like none of their secondary. Like everybody was hurt. And it's not like Tampa has a great secondary, but they got some dudes in that front seven. So I'm kind of interested in seeing, like, if you're the Steelers offense, how are you going to attack Vita Vea being out there in the middle, Akeem Hicks, William Golston, Levante David and Devin White, Shaq Barrett coming off of one edge. This is traditional 3-4 defense, by the way. Joe Tyron Shalenka. Carl Nassib gets in there a little bit as kind of like a rotational player. The corners are like Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis III, Antoine Winfield Jr. He's not too shabby. And then Mike Edwards. They have Logan Ryan and Keon O'Neal sitting back there because that's like their depth is just after runs. They had problems last year, and those problems have leaked into this year as far as their secondary. Can they actually attack it? That's you got to have a little variety. I think you do. I think you have to have. Yeah. Can they?
The answer is they can.
But will they?
You're going to have George Pickens open a lot unless they double him every time, and they're probably going to try and do a lot of creative stuff to disguise coverages. Look, as much as I love Deontay, as much as I think he is still wide receiver one, he's not in the eyes of everybody else that's looking at this team. Right now, wide receiver one is George Pickens.
Right.
That's who, when you're a defensive coordinator looking to take on the Steelers, George Pickens is now who you're worried about. Deontay can't keep the ball in his hands. He's not running the routes the same way. He's there's still too much of that scat back short, trying to flip around and run, do a little twisty thing and go. It's not happening, right? You're worried about George Pickens because the dude just does freak things. So if they're going to game plan to take George Pickens out, that means Deontay, Claypool, Boykin, if Austin is able to play, other people have to step up. Other people have to get open, especially if Pat can't play, and that's the question. Because the more I watch things, the more I'm concerned not about the play calling, but about the execution that's existing and the lackadaisical nature with the way routes are run and the way that they're trying to get people open. They're telegraphing things, and that's not Matt Canada telegraphing plays. That's the players telegraphing what they're doing. It's just not. It's not conducive.
Well, true or false? I know you're sitting a little higher in the stands and got like the coaches film live, and I see it, off of my perspective, off the corner, looking live. But we see things you don't see on TV.
Yes. With
Mitch in there, were plays left on the field for sure. Like
absolutely.
Oh yeah, like guys, George Pickens wide open, doesn't even look at
George Pickens.
Yeah. With Kenny, do you get that same impression? Because I don't. There was somebody that was criticizing a crossbody throw later after he nearly threw a pick off of Deontay Johnson's hands, and he didn't go and do it again later in the game. You know what I mean? So
not making a crossbody throw and I know the play you're talking about. So it's a play he ran out of bounds on, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And when you go crossbody on that particular throw, it's gonna be picked. Not because, oh, there were guys open. There were guys open for like a millisecond. Not when he could have thrown the ball. But they're two DBs hanging right in the middle of the damn field that all they have to do, that you're not getting, strength of throw, you're not getting accuracy. It's huge. It was a better decision not to throw that, right? So don't give me, oh, he should have done the back. That's crazy. That's everybody tells you don't throw against your body, and I don't care if Pat Mahomes does it. That's because Travis Kelce's open in the middle of the field and nobody's around him because the rest of the team is running routes well to draw people away, right?
It's the old bend to AB thing. It's just a cheat code. And those guys just get it. They're on a whole other page. I was looking at the Tampa Bay defense in particular here, and they are, let me see, ranked, I think, 6th in points given up. Yards given up the same, 5th in turnovers, 4th against first downs. So they are pretty much they're a difficult group in general, especially like I said with that front seven to get anything done. But I will also say some of that has been mitigated by Dallas Cowboys in the first game not doing anything and Dak getting hurt and all these other things, right? 3 points. New Orleans Saints, 10 points with, Jameis Winston. I don't even know if Jameis was still healthy for that game or not. There was the slobber knocker 14-12 loss that Tampa had to the Green Bay Packers. And then you jump over to the Kansas City Chiefs and it was 41-31. Where if you watched that game in primetime, nobody wanted to play defense in that game, and Tom Brady looked pretty irritated. And we'll get to that side of the ball shortly. And then last week with the Falcons, it was 21-15. So, I mean, they still didn't really give up they haven't given up 20 points in 4 out of 5 games, but I don't know how much of that is, Raheem Morris in the defense or just the opponent. So it could certainly stink, and it could continue. Like, I wish I had Tampa on my fantasy team. It's like the Steelers this week, the Panthers next week, the Ravens. Well, the Ravens are capable, but, they're not infallible. The Rams can't get it together. Right. It's kind of an interesting schedule there for Tampa, and they're not the same team. There's a different head coach at the helm now, and there's some different changes, and there's a laundry list of injured players. But before we go through that roster, why don't we go through this roster? I got it here. Yeah. We've got to talk about got to support the sponsor here, of course. Manscaped, once again, folks, if you want to check it out, 20% off and free shipping with the promo code Steel City at Manscaped. And like I said, I didn't have the most amount of time to go and get through all of this just yet, but I did check out, this was like the nose hair trimmer, and I'm going to get it larger here on the screen in a second. But this like little gizmo is one of the best things that I've had in a long time. I had like something that was very similar to this that wasn't necessarily my favorite device, and here we go. I finally got myself on full screen here, but it's nice and small, it's waterproof, and you're talking about like little things you could doodads and things that you could get, little giblets sticking out of your ears or nose. You don't want to be embarrassed. You want to take care of those things. If you're a guy, you want to be well kept. And I got a little beard. Brian's got the much bigger beard and the mohawk over there, or the faux hawk, maybe, as you might call it. And this little thing that really helps out. It gets in some little places, and I like it all. I like it a lot already. I'll put it this much. Like, I thought what I had was good, but this one from Manscaped is like superior to what I already had. And they've got like packages where this could come in with the weed whacker, the L big trimmer is what I wanted to say. It's like I was going to call it the chainsaw. I still had Bruce Willis in Pulp Fiction.
If you did chainsaw to trim your family jewels, you got some problems there, my friend.
Yeah, that's not you're gonna have a lot more problems. So,
I mean, quite frankly, describing it as the weed whacker just tells you how most men take care of that particular area, right? It's
Yeah,
not,
yeah. Well, the lawnmower too, and it helps reduce nicks, reduce the risk of ingrown hairs, grooming accidents, all of these different things. So, I'm going to continue using this, and we don't have like makeup off stage or anything like that here with our show. So this is as good as it gets. So I'm happy about this stuff. So check it out, manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping. And they've got a whole full lineup of stuff. I mean, they've got this is going to help you look your best, and your friends at Manscaped are here to help you sling your beautiful balls all season long. So look no further. This is the state-of-the-art tech. You'll have your weapon looking more loaded than what were we just talking about? Patrick Mahomes and
weapon?
Travis. Yes, your weapon. Hey, like I said, these are some geniuses in the marketing department. This is just so much fun to talk about. Not only is it like a great product, and I know it sounds like SEU has turned into like an infomercial. Well, support the sponsor. They help pay the bills and keep us here. So, we don't have to go to Patreon and beg for money for you. So head on over to manscaped.com, get 20% off and free shipping. Promo code Steel City as per the usual. Brian, we have and we're excited. We thank them. We really do. I think they have as much fun watching all of us try and trip over some of the bullet points and scripts and things that they give us. Like, I mean, come on, really. It's like, but certainly join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com, 20% off, free shipping, Steel City. Injury report. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see. I got to pull it up because this thing scrolls forever, just like last week's. And it's unfortunate because there's way too many Steelers players on this too. I mean, teams are they're just getting dinged and banged around. So Cameron Brate, full participant, tight end for Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's in concussion protocol. Previous week, what was that? Cade Otton, I believe, was like his backup that they had to roll with. And let's see, Jalen Darden, wide receiver. This is a new one, Brian. Tooth. He is out on the injury report for a tooth. So his game status, all these are going to be unspecified because it's the Wednesday report, but Carlton Davis, full participant, he had a hip. He was a little dinged in, limited practice for Mike Edwards is one of the safeties. So two of the guys in the secondary, I believe actually three, but I think we go into some of the depth here, like Sean Murphy bunting with a quad was a DNP also. Russell Gage, DNP, is an ankle, kind of like a third receiver. Chris Godwin, when is this guy not on an injury report? He is deadly when healthy, limited with hip and knee. Akeem Hicks with his foot, also a DNP. Julio Jones, perpetually not going to be on. I don't know. I feel like Julio, we talked about this many times in the past, Brian, and it's like once you get past age, you get to like age 31 or so, and as a wide receiver in the NFL, and you fall off of a cliff, man. I mean, it's unfortunate, and I hate to slander some of the greats because Julio was definitely one of the greats, and he'll be a guy that's not soon forgotten in the NFL. But actually, I want to look up and see how. Let's see. We got Julio here. I'm wondering how old Julio is now because I know he's north. He is 33. He's approaching 34 in February. So, I mean, he's not a spring chicken anymore. A savvy veteran and somebody that could be a weapon for Tom Brady if he is on the field and can probably slice and dice because we didn't talk about Steelers defense too much just yet. But who was out there? Like, Josh Jackson and James Pierre and Jameer Jones and Ryan Anderson and Arthur Millette playing 80% of the snaps, and Okeechobee only plays like 7, and it's really hard, like, even to criticize. You can see why they gave up 38 against Buffalo.
Well, this is where the biggest concern lies, right? In that Levi Wallace is slow. Like, you get against speedy guys, you got problems here, right? And that showed up big time against Buffalo because they just got absolutely burnt a couple times, and they could not catch up. But it's not just that. They are flat out banged up everywhere. It's not just TJ being out. They've just got gaps and holes. And when you're starting to when you're playing St. Pierre at this point, after what we saw last year, you know you're in trouble.
James Pierre, St.
Yeah,
Pierre, Brian St.
Pierre.
Brian St. Pierre, blast from the past.
No, I'm just calling him St. Pierre. I'm not calling him whatever his name really is. I was watching some Women in Rock show on some channel. I don't remember what it was, but there's some woman named St. Vincent, and I don't know who the hell she is. I don't know what kind of weird music she makes. I thought it was terrible. And so that makes me think of St. Pierre. So he's terrible. That's why he's St. Pierre.
No, you know what I think of when you say that and then you try and make his name like that? I think of Metallica and I think of Saint Anger because he makes me angry.
Saint Anger, yes.
Yes, plenty of nicknames here. They just brought in, was it, who am I thinking of? Last played what, with New England? Like in 2020? Somebody just got signed to the practice squad. Let me do the quick thinking here. Back to the injury report just real quick as I go to pull that up because the Steelers did make a transaction. They're trying to find somebody because they are just razor thin. It could be without all top three of the corners. Actually, I'm looking at the Bucs roster.
To be honest, they reached out to me this week. I just couldn't do it.
Maybe so. I covered most of this. Let's see. Akeem Hicks, I think I already mentioned. Sean Murphy bunting with the quad. Julio. Oh, Carl Nassib, illness. So he'll probably be okay. Again, going kind of deep with the wide receivers. Back on as a full participant for Shad Perryman. Logan Ryan, they have him listed as a DB, foot, DMP. He's been playing safety for the longest time now in the NFL. And Donovan Smith, offensive tackle, limited with an elbow. But the Steelers, you got Deontay limited, Cam Sutton, Akilla Witherspoon, and Levi Wallace are all DNPs. Levi with concussion protocol, and Sutton and Witherspoon with hamstrings. Terrell Edmonds is a full participant now, but still concussion protocol, but was full participant. He was out there on the field. They had Freiermuth listed improperly originally and retracted this. He's also limited in concussion protocol. Micah Fitzpatrick shows up DNP with the knee. Montravius Adams DNP with the hip. Mason Cole, foot. That's been an issue too, maybe. He's been showing up on the injury report and playing. And, you know, say what you will about being a gladiator and playing hurt or hurting your team. I think you hurt your team more. I'd rather have maybe a 50% Mason Cole out there than ever trying to get Kendrick Green. And he wouldn't be the first guy up in place anyways. It'd be J.C. Hassenauer, which I don't feel equally as comfortable with either. So Zach Gentry, like I said, knee, DMP. We mentioned Freiermuth, Larry Ogunjobi with his back. So that is a lot of names. And catch us later in the week on the cheat sheet Friday, and I'll get you up to date with all of these and see who may be ruled out. That flips it over to Tampa on offense and the Steelers on defense. And boy, Brian, that doesn't look very promising when you're talking about Tom Brady, the GOAT. If you can't put any pressure on the quarterback, which the Steelers have had, struggled immensely. Now, Tampa Bay's offensive line has been ravaged even before this season kicked off. They've had guys retire. They had guys they lost in free agency. They had guys that have gone on IR. They are just kind of like a ragtag band of brothers that's still around. Tom Brady has been feeling a little more pressure from other teams, but if you can't get to that guy, he's going to slice and dice you up with Mike Evans. If Chris Godwin's healthy, doesn't matter. They got Scotty Miller that could eat you alive here. He will find guys and they will posterize whoever the Steelers throw into that secondary. So I got to hope that it's not Trey Norwood. At least get Terrell Edmonds back out there. Millette maybe plays as a nickel and you get to the corner. I mean, Witherspoon just sounds like he's not going to be back anytime soon. We know TJ's not going to be back anytime soon. If Larry's not out there, Larry O, that's just another problem too, because Leonard Fournette has been a formidable back, both as a dual threat, running and receiving. I know they've been trying to kind of limit his reps a little bit and try and sprinkle someone else in there. But when it comes down to it, you still got him to contend with on the other side of the field.
Yeah, this is not. It's not an encouraging outlook defensively right now. And there's no question about it. And it was obvious that Tony Romo and Jim Nantz saw the same thing too. Right now, you got Cam, and that's it. Alex Highsmith is doing what Alex Highsmith can do. He is not TJ Watt, and so you can take him out if you've got nothing coming from the other side. And guess what? They've got basically nothing coming from the other side. And so really, you've got Cam trying to play defense, and that's not gonna work great, right? Look, Devin Bush looked really not good last week.
But who didn't? He had like no help.
Nobody really did, but he didn't help it by rushing right past Josh Allen, right? It was just a bad look, out of control. It was what we used to, we used to give Shazier a little bit of crap for being a little too fast, right? Too out of control. And maybe this is actually this is me desperately trying to, I don't even have a barrel so that I can tell you how far down in the bottom of the barrel I'm scraping to find some hope. Maybe this is Devin Bush is playing so fast he's out of control again, and now he just has to rein it back in and get back. I don't even believe what I'm saying.
No, I don't think anybody is. I mean,
I don't even believe that.
I'm trying to buy what you're selling. Tampa's 19th in scoring. Like I mentioned, they were 6th in defensively when it comes to scoring, but they're only 19th in scoring offensively, 20.6. Steelers are now down to 15.4. They were at least almost at like 18-ish heading into that Buffalo game, and then that just fell off a cliff. They're allowing 25.6, which is 25th defensively in scoring on that side of the ball, and it won't be too much different unless they can muster something. The Tampa offense is 3rd in pass yards currently. The Steelers are 23rd. However, Tampa's 31st when it comes to running the football. Leonard Fournette is just 3.8, but like I said, they could still. It's the same thing. It's because their offensive line, they've got guys in there they weren't planning on having. They haven't quite gotten it together and gelled properly. But you could get away with that when you have Tom Brady back there being able to throw the ball, and if he's got all day, it's not going to make a hill of beans what the Steelers do. They could probably have their full complement of guys, Levi Wallace and everything, Witherspoon and everything else, but it's not going to matter.
I don't want to continue to pour doom and gloom on this team, but I can tell you right now,
or praise Tom Brady.
Right. You notice I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, keywords yet.
Yeah. But the problem right now is teams are looking at the Steelers on their upcoming schedule as a get right game. And, teams that have been struggling, they're looking at this game as a way to get right. And the Steelers need to find a way to make sure that they don't become that team, the team that other teams look at as that's where we're going to get our mojo back. But that's how this team, and especially the defense, which shocks me to say, but considering the amount of injuries, considering, just the way that this season has begun to play out, that's what they're looking at. You got your offense is a little sluggish. Hey, maybe you'll play the Steelers next. And
sadly,
I want to vomit saying it, right? But it's just the state. It's just the state that they're in, and that they need to figure that out. I don't know whether this is the change in defensive coordinator. I don't know whether Brian Flores is not having the kind of impact they wanted him to have. I don't know whether it's Mike Tomlin. I don't know whether it's just the injuries. They just are not a good cohesive team right now on defense. And, we were talking about this either on Twitter, you and I, or somewhere else. They're playing anti-complementary football. When you talk about playing complementary defense, it's because the defensive line is getting pressure so that, or the DBs are holding up so they can get pressure, right? It's complementary. They're feeding off of each other. They're doing the exact opposite right now. They can't stay covered. They can't get pressure so people can throw for 5 billion yards.
Yeah, and I'm concerned here too, with, maybe he's got things going on at home, and maybe that'll play in the Steelers' favor. Hey, no joke though, like the stressors and stuff. And, I think there was a little argument in the household about whether or not Tom Brady would stay retired. And then some of that
clearly that was the case.
And some of that was also, well, if Bruce Arians is still there, I don't want to play for him. So I think that kind of happened too. Don't say these quarterbacks aren't divas and don't get their way. Look at Aaron Rodgers, look at Ben as well. By the way, that's a good point with the Matt Canada stuff too. When are people going to be happy? They wanted Bruce Arians out of town. Now all of a sudden, like 10 years later, they have this revisionist history that they were good in the red zone and put up a lot of points or something like that. And then he left, and they hated Todd Haley practically the entire time he was there. And then Todd Haley left, even though Ben had some of his most success with Todd Haley. And Randy Fichtner comes in, and then all of a sudden it was, wow, this guy sucks too. You got to get somebody from outside. Don't hire from within, and get a college mind.
Randy Fichtner did suck.
I did say that. I did say that. Yeah. But
just be fair, he really did suck. It was. That one, I mean, Todd Haley was perfectly adequate as an offensive coordinator. He had issues with Ben. Ben didn't like him. He didn't like Ben. They had a pissing match. Pardon me. I know I said it, but that's okay. Zach said the S word, and I saw it.
We do try and limit the vulgarity, you know. But we've been talking about not doing that, and this season might send us off the rails at some point.
Season very well could. Look. People are never, unless they're winning every game by 38 points and, pitching shutouts, this fan base is not going to be happy. I mean, it's every play has to go for 20 plus yards. They got to have 1 million touchdowns. We have to have 9 sacks a game, give up 10 yards of rushing, and, nobody scores more than 5 points. And then, even then, they'll complain.
That is so true. And we said all of this. We said this in July when we looked at the schedule and we said, what are the folks going to be? It's going to be Mike Tomlin on the hot seat. They don't know what they're doing with quarterback. And God forbid if somebody gets hurt, and we all knocked on wood, and lo and behold, TJ Watt gets hurt. And now you've even got people that are going as far to say Najee's a bust. Why did you draft a quarterback? Why didn't they draft offensive linemen? Like, why didn't they prepare better? Because they needed a linebacker. They needed a Shazier replacement. They needed a safety. This isn't like they didn't need offensive linemen. You're going to draft them so they sit on their ass on the sideline behind 2 elite players like David DeCastro and Marquise Pouncey. I know you've seen the stuff that's out there where people are like, oh, yeah, well, look at all the previous Steelers drafts. They're no longer with the team. And they're talking about guys from 10 years ago, and the average expectancy in the NFL is you play 3 seasons if you make a team. Sometimes teams have so many draft picks that half of them don't even make that roster or that squad. I mean, 1,000 or so people get cut at the end of August. That's just some of this is just preposterous. And here's a miss. It was a 7th round pick. It's like 200 pick 250. Like, people are going to go back and say, why'd they waste this pick on Presley Harvin? Why'd they waste this pick on Chris Oladokun or whatever? They could have gotten a lineman. And it's like, well, you're complaining about not drafting linemen, but you want a guy in the 7th round to pan out. But Dan Moore's in the 4th round, and Kevin Dotson's in the 4th round, and James Daniels is a free agent. Oh, they don't sign free agents. Well, here's one here. Chooks was a 3rd rounder. So you're going to get, like, those picks don't mean anything. They're like, maybe you find someone. You did have Ramon Foster that was undrafted or whatever, but it's just, I don't know what people are seeing with this offensive line either. That it's the quarterbacks have time to throw the ball. You know what I mean? Right now, they got to get right when it comes to, and there's the other point of this, Brian. That's where I was going at with the defense is, if they don't and they do, and let's say, okay, well, they drafted the next David DeCastro, not knowing when DeCastro might stop playing. He's still under contract for, let's say, 2 years. He was probably still under contract, I think, through this season, in fact. And that guy's just sitting on the bench, and then you don't have an inside linebacker. You're rolling with Robert Spillane full time, baby, or whoever else you find.
Their best coverage linebacker.
Oh, I don't understand that. That's the one that drives me crazier than anything. And and they don't have Terrell Edmonds, or they didn't make the trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick. And just think about what that looks like, just so you could have, quote, depth. And the reason they don't have depth is because all of this time. Look at the last year's draft. The top 4 picks all played a lot. And you had like 5 or 6 of them all that played. Najee played. Freiermuth played. Green, who's on his way out. I'm sorry. I don't think he's ever got a shot to play again.
Not for us.
He's around. That's about it. You know what I mean? And so that one's a miss, but hey, you don't nail them all. You take a look at some other teams like the Browns, Bengals, or Ravens within their same division. Not all of those picks work out. They're there. Everybody's questioning Patrick Queen. They needed an inside linebacker. They couldn't get LVE. What was it? Evans was one of them. Tremaine Edmonds. I'm trying to think of who else came out not too long.
Let's be clear.
Devin White.
That's the one I wanted.
Yes. Well, you weren't getting him. He was the top of the class.
I know.
So
but that's the one I wanted. Of all those other ones that you keep mentioning, that's the one I wanted. We talked about LVE and we said, here's the thing. He could be good. He could get hurt and be a bust. How much has he played? How many games has he missed? I'm not saying that he's not a quality linebacker when he's on the field, but he's also not what everybody thought he was going to be. Look, the thing about it is even Devin White, who we absolutely thought we wanted.
Yes, he's
isn't playing.
They're mad by him.
Up to that pedigree.
The Browns
right?
just traded for Deion Jones, who was in the pro. It's like every inside linebacker that would have, could have, or should have been available. None of them are working out right now, but it's like, well, why'd you go after them? Like, because you got to do something. When you
address what you think is a highly touted class, and the class Bush came out of, nobody complained when they drafted Devin Bush at the point they drafted him. You can't go back and do revisionist history because the guy got hurt or because he didn't pan out. When we made that move, everybody was doing a dance and having a jig and, we did what we needed to do, and this is the greatest thing ever in the whole world. Oh, my God. It didn't work.
Asterisks. We're still writing the story. Yeah, like the last season, but nobody was saying it even his rookie year, man. They went into the Chargers game with Duck Hodges, and the dude turned that game around all by himself. But everyone gave Duck the credit for that game. But Devin Bush is involved in two defensive scores, or was it a defensive score and then a short field, something of that nature.
Yeah.
But it just drives. He had a hell of an interception. He got beat on a play and then came back and made this almost one-handed catch type thing he should have never came down with as a linebacker. And you're hoping he snaps out of it and snaps back into that zone. But my whole point is when you have all of these guys, Dan Moore was the fourth one there. I'm trying to think who else they took. Isaiah Loudermilk, who hasn't gotten a lot of playing time this year. Presley Harvin was part of that group. Buddy Johnson? Buddy Johnson didn't pan out. But for the most part, that's why you don't have the depth. The Steelers used to have the guys they would re-sign and they would have there, and they were able to draft another linebacker to groom behind James Ferrier or Lawrence Timmons or someone like a Vince Williams. You know what I mean? And even Vince got thrown out there. It wasn't Vince Williams yet when he was a rookie. Then they didn't throw him out there first. That's why they don't have the depth. I mean, there are three injuries to corners. How deep do you want them to go?
Nobody is that deep. Nobody is that deep, and nobody is that deep at every position. Right. Look, we were worried about edge depth from the beginning of the season. We said that. Right. And we were rightly so. TJ has had a propensity to miss games due to injury. Not as bad as this one, but he has missed games due to injury. You take that because when he's there, he's a game changer. OK, but, we were concerned that if you lost him or Alex Highsmith, what did you have in reserves? Not much. And as it turns out, even though they tried to make moves to get there, right now the answer is still not much.
Yeah, Malik Reed is a disappointment. And he's so disappointing they won't play him. They're playing DeMarvin Leal, not where he.
On the flip side of that,
where he was, where they wanted him.
Pick. There's a nice ad. Marvin Leal is looking like a guy who has a future with this team, right? He's making his presence felt. We talked about that he could be that kind of guy when they drafted him. So that's a nice pick. Look, not all these picks are going to ever work out. You can have a draft where every single pick you get ends up being a tank. Welcome to the 80s. All right? Sometimes the whole league is just wrong. And the whole league was very high on that linebacker group. And right now, you can't say that any of them are turning into the players that people anticipated they would be, right? So, look.
Well, even further, the Steelers don't have DeMonte Casey. They had Carl Joseph go on IR earlier. We thought that they were like absolutely loaded throughout the secondary with all of their defensive backs. And even the ones where we felt depth could be an issue is like, well, they got Levi Wallace and Witherspoon. Let's see which of them starts, and then the other ones in the reserves. And you don't have to worry about Justin Lane, who's no longer on the team anyways, or James Pierre. And now you have Josh Jackson, who only joined the team like 2-3 weeks ago. He didn't have a camp. And what's his face that just got signed too? I didn't look up his name. He's going to end up on the field. Duke Dawson, that's who it was. And he hasn't played in a regular season game in like 2 years, and maybe he could be brought up to speed in a week or two. But Tom Brady is going to feast on this secondary if some dudes aren't healthy. I mean, he started out the year 18 to 27, 212, a touchdown and interception. It's the only pick he's thrown all year. That was against Dallas. 18 to 34 for 190. That's not Tom Brady-esque. That sounds like Mitch Trubisky numbers there. Only one touchdown. 31 to 42, almost 74% complete, 271 with a TD against Green Bay. That's a little bit closer to Tom Brady numbers. Than each of the last 2 weeks, he's thrown 52 passes, 75% complete for 385 and 3 TDs against the Kansas City Chiefs, and then 67 complete against the Falcons for 351 and a touchdown. And again, only the one pick thrown at the very, where are you going to turn the ball over here? Where are you going to get that ball back? So it really, the offense, and unfortunately, how does the offense maintain time of possession to give the defense enough rest and keep Tom Brady off the field? They got to run the freaking football. So,
and they can't.
And yeah, so you're going to see them, but they're going to try. They're going to at least attempt. And whether or not they do it doesn't look very promising. But that's you live by the sword, die by the sword. That's how you keep Tom Brady off the field. And if they don't do that, and they go out there and they throw, and then Deontay Butterfingers third down, and then Presley Harvin punts it 32 yards. We could be in for another long afternoon, man.
Look, I'm not a proponent of things like bubble screens and consistent screen passes, but you need to engage some of the short game to compensate. Like, I get it. They want to run the ball, and you're absolutely right. The way you keep Tom Brady off the field is you run the ball and you grind the game out. They are not a team that is capable of that right now. The only way the run starts to open up is if the pass opens up the run.
Yep.
That means they need to come out throwing the ball, but they need to come out throwing the ball and be successful. Look, if they are not successful, if the receivers continue to be mediocre at best, excluding George Pickens, then they're going to have problems. It's just it. That's just the way it is. You can look at this team and we can all get big flashes in our eyes and go, man, we have such a great receiving core. It ain't looking that way right now. So
yeah, and somebody's gonna say, well, why don't they trade Chase Claypool and get whatever, a bag of Fritos? And like, that just doesn't work that way. And if this guy's been, if he's
somebody desperate enough to give up a pick for some of these guys,
like a starting corner or an edge rusher, what's the league about aside from trying to figure out if somebody's if it's a run play, pass play, right?
Yeah.
Once you get beyond that, it's get to the
people
quarterback,
who throw the ball, and the people who chase the guy who
yes, exactly. And you're not giving up the edge rusher. So, like, you know, when the Broncos gave up Malik Reed, I'm like, okay, depth guy, probably not somebody you want in there all day long. Just like Melvin Ingram last season too. Melvin Ingram was nice when you were able to put him on the field. I've seen the Steelers try some pretty wacky stuff. Like I think you saw this with the Jets too, maybe, where they had Jack Spillane and Bush all on the field at the same time too. And they're trying to do some different things. They're trying to prevent the run. At times, you've seen some still, like some of the horror stories or carryover from last season. So it's not perfected. And some of that's also predicated on what personnel are out there also. So, I mean, you're going to try and run. I think you're going to try and run when you see the smaller DBs out there versus more linebackers. Vice versa, you're going to want to pass and get a linebacker in coverage. And some of those things still happen. I mean, it's just that happens all across the league. It's tiring. It's just, I don't know.
Chuck Noll had losing seasons when he had bad players, right? Mike Tomlin has had bad players and not had losing seasons. But this certainly could be the first year. But again, even good coaches can only, get the All they can do is get the most out of the players that they can get, right? And if the most out of those players is crap, well, then that it's crap, right? It doesn't really necessarily mean that the coach didn't do their job. It can just mean that right now they don't have the kind of players they'd like to have. Look, they have lost a lot of depth players who would have been fantastic players to other teams to be starters, right? And you can't keep them all. I mean, I know you and I got into it a little bit about Jay Wobble, and I want to reiterate that my point is not that they could have kept him. My point is it's still a mistake to have let him go. Like it was a guy that it's unfortunate. The business is the business. That's a guy they should have found a way to keep.
Yeah, but then you make the top 5 paid players on a team are 3 defensive linemen when they don't usually have 3 on the field. That's a tough sell, and especially when they're up against the cap. And then somebody else has to go. So who do you kick off the roster? You know,
it is absolutely all a balancing. And again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying they could have done it. I'm just saying
I know
it's a mistake that they have to accept and bear and own. He's a guy that should have been a Steeler for life.
But you know what? He's actually just really coming into his own there too. He was kind of quiet for a little while in Philly, but that's the same thing with that whole team. You see that whole team starting to just come alive, and that's the way I feel the Steelers. They'll be on the cusp. They'll be on the bubble. If this year is a little rougher around the edges, this is the hardest part of their schedule right now. And if Kenny continues to show us the kind of promise, you know, people are going to say whatever with the stats or whatever. The dude was highly accurate, and I think I had a stat pulled somewhere here with Kenny Pickett, and he could become the 4th rookie quarterback ever with 300 pass yards in each of his first 2 career starts. I think it was Justin Herbert, Cam Newton, and I'm trying to think who the other one was. I don't have it off the top of my head. It might have been Patrick Mahomes, but I'm not certain for that one. So, no, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was the other one. So,
yeah, that's a bad comparison right there.
That's a bad comparison. No, we liked Herbert. We liked the Herbert comparison. I know. I don't understand how Cam Newton did all that. They asked him to do a lot.
Kyler Murray was on some hallucinogens.
And let's talk about the Steelers. There's like 6 teams with 1 win right now. You got the Houston Texans have 1 fewer loss due to the
tie.
A lot
of teams not playing well.
Yeah. Carolina you could be in that situation. You have 2 former number 1 picks that aren't working out. Now you're back to PJ Walker as a quarterback. At least the Steelers, I think they had a little bit more for all they didn't plan for post Ben and they didn't plan for this and that. Like they went all in around 2017, 18, 19, and 20 to try and win 1 more ring with Roethlisberger at the tail end in the twilight of his career. And, you know, if it wasn't for a COVID season or if it wasn't for an injury to Ryan Shazier, they probably have 2 good, legitimate shots there in those seasons. 2018 fell off the rails with Bell and Brown and all of that jazz, you know what I mean? And 2019, obviously, with Ben getting hurt. But like you said, you know, Mike Tomlin was able to coach them out of a wet paper bag and get it done, even with that.
To get back to Kenny, you know, look, throw out all the people who was like, oh, he was playing against this, he was playing against that. He moved the offense at the beginning of the game. So it's not that he's not playing well. He absolutely has more swagger. And I mean, you know, you could look. Let me put it this way. You and I have had arguments about stats before, and I'm old school, right? I don't give a crap about stats. They're nice. It's great. They're numbers. Yes, they indicate that there was success. But for me, you just eyeball the guy. And if the offense looks more cohesive, if the offense looks like it has the right stuff, so to speak, and it looks different with Kenny under center than it did with Mitch under center. Guys are fired up. Guys want to do more, at least some of them. I'm not sure about all those receivers. They're really annoying me, to be honest with you. But the rest of them, it's just a different feel with Kenny Pickett as a quarterback. And you can't get away from that. So that's why I've been telling people, look, I don't know what this season is going to unfold as. Do I think the Steelers are a Super Bowl threat right now? Yeah, come on, right? They're not.
I never thought that going into this season, realistically.
No, I don't think either one of us did.
Yeah.
Do I think that the Steelers have some building blocks? Absolutely. There are things to look forward to. There are things to hope to see improvement in. So, it's much for those of us, and I know you relish telling me that I was around during the Stone Age, but for those of us
pterodactyls, stone tablets,
were there when Terry Bradshaw gave way to Mark Malone, right? We're there to watch Jack Lambert walk off the field.
He gave him an actual torch.
Yeah. We're there to see that kind of transition. Let me just tell you, this ain't that. Okay?
Yes. Well, hey, and I'm not trying to be a stats whore on the Kenny Pickett thing. Whoop-de-doo, 300 some yards. It's still, it's nice to see that somebody's capable of at least registering that. I have my high doubts that Mitch would have even gotten over 200 last week. But the accuracy, the decisiveness, the progressions, not having the happy feet and staying in the you still got to be able to, you can move and evade any type of pressure, but you still got to be able to throw from the pocket. And he does all of these things, and he does them exceptionally well. And Brian, it's been a while since you were on. Thanks, man. We're up against it. But the final point was, we said these things about Joe Burrow when we saw him starting to play with the Cincinnati Bengals, and we said, oh man, this guy might be a problem for years to come. And I am getting that same kind of rub, that same kind of impression with Kenny Pickett, even though at the same time as like Burrow, he's not necessarily, the Bengals weren't winning games. And then he got hurt, of course, and didn't play half a season too, but you saw improvement. You saw a threat, and that's what I see. And likewise, they gave him somebody that went over decent receivers, good receivers, but not great receivers when you're talking about T. Higgins, when you're talking about Tyler Boyd, and they gave him Jamar Chase. And that's what I see when you add George Pickens to this mix of Deontay Johnson or Chase Claypool. And we still haven't seen Calvin Austin catches almost anything that comes his direction. If you had an actual chance to see him in camp.
How that happens.
Yeah. And this is kind of where, and you're going to have a tight end as part of this kind of group too. So with Pat Freiermuth. So we see your bubblehead going around there.
He's got to make his prediction. He hasn't been around to make a prediction in a while.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's the reason why the Steelers have been struggling.
Oh no, he told me, he was whispering in my ear earlier. He's like, I would have picked the Bills. No way would I have not picked the Bills.
I said if there was a chance. I didn't like the 14 line. It was just so outrageous to me. I thought, no way to get hosed this bad. And it was just, I did hit the one player prop though with Kenny Pickett, so I was happy about that. I didn't completely lose my backside, but I was just like 14 points in the NFL. It just seems a little excessive to me. And man, oh man. Anyways, especially since they hadn't lost by 14 in those other games, so maybe they could keep this one a little tighter. But again, it all depends. I mean, I'm ragging. I throw Josh Jackson's name out there. I'm ragging on, but I mean that whole group of like third stringers and fourth stringers. It really is looking like preseason, a preseason defensive unit. So what do we got?
They winning or they losing?
I thought I felt that they had an opportunity to win this game. I feel like Tom Brady before, like especially the last game. I mean, Atlanta was a bogus, the ref stinks call from potentially having a shot at unseating the Buccaneers last week. And you can't, despite record or anything else.
Atlanta has been in almost every game that they've been in.
They've been competitive. I'll give them that much. I don't necessarily know. It boggles the mind as the Steelers should be a more talented football team on paper, and it's not cohesive. But again, a lot of that is some of the injuries. And yes, TJ Watt does make a significant difference. He is a difference maker, reigning defensive player of the year. But are they winning this game? I'm not going to put a rubber seal on that so early, or my rubber stamp on that so early in the week. I have some optimism that they could compete, but they got to change a lot of things from last week. And this is one of those wacky weeks where you bring a team in off the road. The difference is it's Tom Brady. That's the thing I can't get over and out of my head, because otherwise it's like, man, they really crapped the bed last week, and then all of a sudden they come out there and you're going to see Kenny throw for 6 touchdowns or something just completely outrageous that you can't explain. It just goes against everything that you believe in or anything that you know. But if he's out there and Tom Brady is not pressured, I don't think there's much of a chance. I think the line is the Steelers are getting 8. They're +8 at home. It's not as big of a line. It's a little bit over a touchdown difference.
Well, Tampa has underperformed.
They have underperformed.
No,
but as you said, this could be a get-right game for them, too.
I guarantee they're looking at it that way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're not willing to commit, which I've heard is a problem with you.
Yeah, it happens.
But you're trending towards potentially a victory?
I don't know where it's coming in the next 3 games, but I think they take one of these 3. It's hard for me to see it happen in Philadelphia because they struggle a lot. Miami, I mean, I don't know who's going to play quarterback there. I mean, Teddy was out too.
That's the one I think they have a chance to steal.
Yeah, Miami defensively has been pretty strong. Philly's just got it all together, and they're playing there in their house. That's just really tough. So they do have the Buccaneers at home, and they've had opportunities against Tom Brady before in the past, but the problem is you'd feel a lot better if they had like TJ Watt out there. That's what I'll say. So
look, manscape up, man.
So manscape up. I mean, I would probably give the edge to the Bucs, but again, I got to see the rest of the injury report.
I think the Bucs will win.
Well, see, it depends on who you have out there. If you get Cam Sutton and or Levi Wallace out there,
I'm just telling you,
better
I
chance.
don't think it matters who they have out there.
Well, it's still the pass rush. Yeah.
I don't think that it matters who they have out there. I think that they will not be able to get to Brady consistently enough. And while I think Kenny will play well and put more than 3 points on the board this week, I don't think it will be enough. And I think the Bucs will probably win. I'm not going to commit to a score because I don't know how the hell to figure out who's going to score what. All right. But, my opinion doesn't matter. Your opinion doesn't matter. The only opinion that clearly matters, the only person who really picked the one upset that they managed to have is the bobblehead.
And the bobblehead's going with the Bucs too, isn't he?
He's not. He says the Steelers win.
All right.
Yes, the Steelers win.
I have some flashbacks when they had the Bucs come to town with Mike Glennon and struggled, and it's like I should have that weight out of my head completely. But
I get that the bobblehead is me and I am the bobblehead. He's wrong. They're not going to win.
I know. I seriously, I'd like to have some optimism. Like I said, I had some optimism maybe that they could sneak something in and be in a shootout situation last week. They get it in a shootout. If they're able to be in a shootout situation this week and they're the last team to have the football, that might be what it comes down to. But as long as who ended up taking a little heat for saying someone was wearing a skirt, was that Troy Aikman?
Yes.
He's not entirely wrong with Tom Brady.
Oh, come on. That roughing call. Look, can I just roll out the ref stink for a second here? My goodness gracious. The whatever the hell on the quarterback was legal. The action on the quarterback was legal. Go back home and burn your pot pipe or whatever the hell you were smoking before the game. Clearly you're an idiot. Then on top of that, that's baloney. It's not. Anybody wants to argue with me, I don't care. Did it make a difference in the game? No, of course it didn't make a difference in the game. They stunk. But that was absolutely a horrible call or non-call. Then you throw on the top of that, Grady Jarrett, have gently laid Tom
you were
Brady
talking about the hit on Kenny Pickett first with the slide, which was no flag.
Now, Tom Brady, that was a no flag, right? Moron, no flag. Now, you get the moron, Tom Brady was touched. Even though he was gently cuddled, his head was cupped, he was laid upon the ground as if he were a princess. Nope, roughing the passer. Wait, you can't tackle Tom Brady? Oh, I had no idea. I thought we were allowed to tackle other players.
Just wait until they do the Pro Bowl with flags and the flag football, and somebody's going to take Tom's flag, and they're going to call roughing the passer on it.
This is why I just want somebody to backside Tom Brady and knock his Going to say it at one of these times. You're going to have to
the Steelers may have a chance. Maybe they hit old man Rip Van Winkle right here at 55 years old or whatever he is.
I don't even wish Tom Brady hurt.
I know, I don't either.
Knock the living crap out of him.
Yeah, he was getting tossed around and he was very agitated. Cowboys team's coming with some heat. Dan Quinn's got some concepts there, and I know people are thinking, well, why not? Whatever. Well, he's had a couple of years to get this installed, so I still question as to whether or not Terrell Austin is the actual defensive coordinator. Or this kind of
I don't know what's going on right now.
Yeah, well, it's personnel too. A lot of it has to deal with personnel.
More than anything else, it is right now.
Yeah, really. Brian, thanks for joining me, man. We got a lot of quality time in here together. You heading over to see this one as well?
No.
Well, you should.
Daughter's coming home this weekend.
Take her with you.
No, that doesn't. No, that's not.
Doesn't compute. Well, thanks anyways, man. Enjoy some quality family time there, while the rest of us might be agitated. Might not be the right word to describe what might be going on at Acrisure Stadium.
I get in close proximity to Tom Brady. There's a problem. I can't, like, there's just, I get ill. I can't do it.
Yeah, you break out in like hives, catch the COVID.
Yeah. The Rona will bite me and I can't have
you end up with everything with Tom. He's just, well, I don't know.
The Wolverine stuff going on. I can't deal with that.
He looks sickly. He looks very sickly. Like, I mean, you look at the other Tom, you look at Tom Cruise, he's Maverick. You're like, oh, that's Maverick. You look at Tom Brady and you're like, this guy looks
Tom
like
Cruise,
you could blow at him and he just
about as big as my bobblehead.
I know. Well, he's about as
tiny little man.
He's about as big as what you're going to use the lawnmower weed whacker on there. All right.
Bigger than Tom Cruise.
The weapon.
Yeah.
So, folks, that'll do it for us here at the Steel City Underground podcast. Presented to you.
What the hell is going on here today?
Presented to you by Manscaped. Go ahead and check them out once again. The promo code Steel City for 20% off and free shipping. My name is Joe Kuzma, and his name is Brian E. Roach. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, we encourage all of our viewers and listeners out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.